A single mother in Beijing mysteriously disappeared, no trace for 4 years. Then, 4 years later, the police unexpectedly cracked the case, all because of a single remark from a thief. The missing woman had been brutally murdered and dismembered into 11 pieces by her daughter's ex-boyfriend, then buried in the ground. The truth behind the case was utterly bizarre and twisted, all because of the mother's 2 shocking tests of her daughter's boyfriend. In March 2003, the Beijing Police Department received a report from a young woman named Chen Jing, a student at a university in Beijing. According to Chen Jing, about 10 days earlier, she had returned home from school to find her mother, Chen Haiyan, absent. Initially, she thought her mother had gone out to buy groceries, but by evening, there was still no sign of her. A sense of foreboding grew in Chen Jing. She asked relatives and friends about her mother's whereabouts, but no one had seen Chen Haiyan. Soon after, Chen Jing noticed that the family's ID cards, household register, and bank books were missing. Assuming her mother had simply left home, she waited anxiously. Yet, after more than 10 days with no news, Chen Jing had no choice but to report her mother's disappearance to the local police station. The police received a report from Chen Jing and immediately began to investigate Chen Haiyan's social connections. However, they found no person suspected of committing the crime. The clues were thus interrupted, and due to limited investigative conditions at the time, the case was put on hold for 4 years. On June 4, 2007, Beijing police arrested a burglar who, in an attempt to reduce his punishment, confessed to the truth of a homicide. The burglar told the police that he had a brother named Yang Zhua, who 4 years earlier had killed his girlfriend's mother and dumped her body in the Yongding River area. According to the burglar's recollection, he and Yang Zhua had met at a roadside food stall to drink that day. While intoxicated, Yang Zhua suddenly burst into tears. After the burglar asked a few questions, Yang Zhua eagerly revealed the incident. At the time, he had thought it was just drunken rambling and paid no heed. Given the involvement of a homicide, the police attached great importance to the case and quickly launched an investigation. When police arrived at Yang Zhua's home, he did not seem surprised by their arrival, as if he had anticipated that this day would come sooner or later. After being taken to the police station, Yang Zhua fully cooperated with the investigation and confessed to the entire process of killing his girlfriend's mother 4 years earlier. This mother was none other than Chen Haiyan, who had gone missing 4 years prior. Based on Yang Zhua's confession, the police recovered Chen Haiyan's remains in the Yongding River and subsequently notified the victim's family member, Chen Jing. Upon receiving the call informing her of her mother's death, Chen Jing was completely stunned. She had assumed her mother's disappearance meant she had gone to live her own life, never expecting that her mother had long been murdered, and that the killer was her first love boyfriend. So what exactly happened in between? Why did Yang Zhua kill his mother-in-law-to-be? And what had Chen Jing's mother, Chen Haiyan, actually endured? Chen Haiyan was born into a poor rural family. Although her family was poor, she was ambitious and had long harbored a dream of changing her destiny through education. Chen Haiyan was indeed diligent, studying hard and achieving excellent grades. However, fate was cruel. When Chen Haiyan had just started junior high school, a sudden thing struck her family. Her father died unexpectedly while working in the fields. With the family's main breadwinner gone, her mother struggled to support the household alone, leaving Chen Haiyan with no choice but to drop out of school and seek work. As Chen Haiyan approached marriageable age, she refused to settle for an ordinary life with just anyone. To escape her family's constant urging to marry, she moved to Beijing to make a living. But as a junior high school dropout, finding a good job in the city was incredibly difficult. Eventually, she secured a position as a bookstore stock clerk. Though she could only afford to live in a Beijing basement at the time, she embraced the challenge with enthusiasm. Yet fate mocked her again. While working at the bookstore, Chen Haiyan met Chen Qiong, the man who would ruin half her life. Chen Qiong often visited the bookstore where she worked, and the two grew acquainted. Chen Haiyan learned that Chen Qiong was a Beijing native, Though he had no stable job, she was drawn to his love of reading. Before long, they developed mutual feelings, dated for a short time, and quickly married. A year later, Chen Haiyan gave birth to their daughter, Chen Jing. She had hoped their happy life would last, but people can change. After the child's birth, Chen Qiong's behavior shifted drastically. He began staying out all night frequently, and even when at home, he ignored his wife and daughter. Chen Haiyan suspected her husband was having an affair, but for the sake of giving her daughter a complete family and clinging to memories of his past kindness, she chose to endure, hoping he would one day return to their family. The breaking point came when Chen Haiyan took their daughter to visit her parents. On the way, she realized she had forgotten something and returned home, only to catch her husband in bed with another woman. In October 1985, due to Chen Qiong's infidelity, Chen Haiyan divorced him. Their daughter was only 3 years old at the time. As the cheating party, Chen Qiong lost custody, and Chen Haiyan received the family home and property, raising their daughter alone in Beijing. Traumatized by betrayal, Chen Haiyan developed a deep resentment toward men, convinced there were no good ones left in the world. She vowed to carefully select the perfect boyfriend for her daughter, and often warned Chen Jing to be extremely picky in choosing a partner. Chen Jing understood her mother's struggles and worked tirelessly. In 2000, she was admitted to the English department of a Beijing university, which filled Chen Haiyan with pride. She felt her years of hardship had been worthwhile. As a high school graduation trip, Chen Haiyan sponsored her daughter to join a tour group to Beidaihe. Little did she know this trip would irreversibly alter the course of her life. During this trip, Chen Jing met Yang Zhua, a 20-year-old Beijing man who was witty and humorous. He claimed to be a manager at a computer company in Zhongguancun. Chen Jing, newly awakened to romance, was quickly captivated by him. Afterward, they exchanged contact information, and under Yang Zhua's pursuit, the two became lovers. After returning home, Chen Jing often smiled absent-mindedly while chatting on her phone. Chen Haiyan immediately guessed what was happening. Under her mother's questioning, the obedient Chen Jing confessed she was in a relationship. Chen Haiyan couldn't help but warn her daughter to learn more about the man and avoid being cheated. But Chen Jing, lost in love, grew impatient with her mother's lectures and even shouted at her, declaring she was an adult entitled to choose her own life. After the argument, Chen Jing left home and returned to school, and the mother-daughter pair cold-shouldered each other for days. To investigate her future son-in-law, Chen Haiyan asked Chen Jing to bring Yang Zhua home for a meal. Assuming her mother was accepting him, Chen Jing happily invited Yang Zhua that day. Yang Zhua was extremely nervous on his first visit, standing at the door with gifts, hesitant to enter. Chen Haiyan, however, acted graciously, warmly welcoming him inside. Seeing Yang Zhua usually articulate, so flustered in front of her mother, Chen Jing was convinced he loved her deeply and vowed to spend her life with him. During their conversation, Chen Haiyan asked about Yang Zhua's family. He claimed to be a Beijing native, but after high school, he'd started a computer repair company with friends due to poor family conditions, earning around 6,000 yuan monthly. Though a good income at the time, Chen Haiyan focused on his lack of higher education, making her dissatisfaction clear. Yang Zhua quickly vowed to pursue further studies and provide a better life for Chen Jing. But Chen Haiyan remained non-committal, merely avoiding conflict while privately deeming him superficial and unstable, unsuitable for her daughter. As a woman who had suffered betrayal, Chen Haiyan feared her daughter would endure the same pain. She secretly visited Yang Zhua's neighborhood and discovered he was a fraud. His family was impoverished, lived in a remote area, his parents were unemployed, and his computer company was just odd jobs assembling computers for friends. He was essentially unemployed and seen as a delinquent. Furious but composed, Chen Haiyan told her daughter the truth and urged her to break up. But Chen Jing, blinded by love, blamed her mother for being controlling, and insisted Yang Zhua's situation was temporary. When Chen Haiyan confronted Yang Zhua directly, demanding they split up, he refused, pleading for a chance. Her opposition only strengthened their rebellion. Yang Zhua began staying overnight at Chen Jing's room, and Chen Jing ignored or fled her mother's criticisms. During the 2002 Spring Festival, a friend advised Chen Haiyan to accept Yang Zhua if he was sincere, regardless of poverty. Worried he might be unfaithful, Chen Haiyan devised a plan. test Yang Zhua's loyalty with a beautiful woman. When friends refused to help, she decided to act as the bait herself. Chen Haiyan began inviting Yang Zhua over frequently, suddenly changing her attitude to be warm and chatty. Gradually, their conversations grew intimate, leading Yang Zhua and Chen Jing to believe she'd accepted their relationship. Unknown to them, this was part of her scheme. One weekend in August 2002, Chen Jing told her mother she'd be staying in Tianjin with friends for 2 nights. Sensing an opportunity, Chen Haiyan prepared a meal with Wuliangi liquor that evening. Under the influence of alcohol, she tearfully recounted her hardships, leaning on Yang Zhua's shoulder. Stirred by alcohol and proximity, Yang Zhua embraced her, and they crossed moral boundaries. The next day, Yang Zhua fled in shame, avoiding Chen Jing. Sensing his distance, Chen Jing tearfully accused him of cheating. Chen Haiyan, having achieved her goal, privately confronted Yang Zhua, threatening to report him for assault unless he broke up with Chen Jing. Terrified, Yang Zhua begged for forgiveness but eventually agreed. In November 2002, Chen Jing broke up with Yang Zhua, who couldn't explain his betrayal. Soon, Chen Haiyan introduced her to a cadra's son, and Chen Jing moved on. Unwilling to give up, Yang Zhua visited in December, pleading for another chance. Though disdainful, Chen Haiyan cooked for him, and under the influence of alcohol, they slept together again. This time, Chen Haiyan secretly photographed their encounter, threatening to send the photos to the police if he bothered her daughter. To avoid further harassment, Chen Haiyan warned Chen Jing to stay away from home. On February 20, 2003, a drunk Yang Zhua barged in, demanding to see Chen Jing. When Chen Haiyan ordered him to leave, he choked her, pinned her to the bed and suffocated her with a pillow. Realizing he'd killed her, he dismembered her body into 6 pieces, packed them in bags, and buried them by the Yongding River, stealing her money and documents before fleeing. For 4 years, Yang Zhua evaded suspicion, until his friend's arrest exposed the crime. If not for that, Chen Haiyan's remains and the truth might have stayed buried forever. On December 23, 2008, Yang Zhua was sentenced to death with a 2-year reprieve for the crime of intentional homicide. As a mother, Chen Haiyan's love for her daughter was astonishing. Her desire for her daughter to find a good partner reflects the common wish of all mothers in the world. Although Chen Haiyan's original intention was to secure her daughter's happiness, her approach was extremely risky. This concludes today's case sharing. What are your thoughts? Feel free to share and discuss in the comments section. That's all for now. If you enjoyed this case, don't forget to like and subscribe. Follow Case Diaries. There are plenty more cases coming your way. Got thoughts on today's story? Drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think. See you in the next one.